Okay, so I just bought this Brother CS6000i. The person I bought it from said that it will only go half speed. So here it is at half speed. Turn it on to full speed. So I can see there is a lot of lint, so I'm hoping that if I just clean it out, I will be able to get it running perfectly again. Other than that, buttons seem to work just fine. It is reading the foot correctly as a J foot. This turns just fine. I'm going to do a little test. So it didn't come with a bobbin. It did come with all of its feet. So I'm going to try this class 15 that I had in my stash, see if that works. Okay, this is the Brother CS6000 that I'm working on. I took off the needle and the foot, took off the needle plate, took out the bobbin. You can see I've got a lot of lint buildup there. I've got a lot of lint buildup along the needle bar. I've got some old grease I'm going to take care of. Probably, yeah, a fair amount of dust and debris in there and on the motherboard as well. So I think getting this cleaned up is the first step. Okay, I removed a couple of screws to take the board housing off to get better access to that bearing, and yeah, it's really stuck. I cleaned a bunch of black gunk from either side here, and behind it there was a bunch in the case as well. Okay, this is the Brother CS6000i that I'm working on. I've got all of the regular maintenance stuff done, and I'm just waiting on getting that seized bearing fixed. So let me walk through everything that I did. We'll start down here. There was a ton of lint buildup all the way around here that I cleared out. I cleared out a bunch of trapped thread and lint around here in this O-ring and in the feed dog channels. I got all the lint off of here, as well as some old grease oil that was in there. On the bottom of the machine, just very carefully flip this to its side. I cleaned all the old grease off of this gear here and re-greased it lightly. I put a little bit of oil here and a little bit of oil here where this sits. I did not oil this ball bearing. I left it alone. It's fine. I put a little bit of oil in this joint here around this collar. I also put some sewing machine oil here where this rocks, and here where this rocks. And I also cleaned a bunch of grease and dust and stuff off the step motor gear here and got that cleaned off. I put a drop of oil here. Get it to focus. Thank you. Here and here. And then I also put a drop of oil here between this cam and here. I cleaned a bunch of stuff off of back here. And I also cleaned this spring off really good because it was also caked in lint. Going back to the underside again, I did put a little bit of grease here on this track to feed that along that channel without rubbing, so that is working really, really well. This is working really, really well. Very smooth action. So that is everything that I did on that side. In the needle bar area, the biggest thing that I worked on is this gear here that controls the side-to-side motion. So I wanted to make sure we had that in good working order. Bunch of old grease on there that I cleaned out, particularly on this little black gear here. And I put a little bit of grease on there as well as on here, this peg that sits on this nylon gear. I also put a tiny, tiny drop of oil in here so that when this moves, it's got a little bit of reduction in friction. And I also put a drop of oil here to feed that rotation. So when I move this bar side to side, there's a tiny bit of movement there. So I wanted to keep that nice and greased, oiled. On the needle bar itself, that's this guy here. I put a drop of oil here at the top of the needle bar, and also where the needle bar goes through this collar, I put a drop there, put a drop here on either side of this metal piece here, chrome piece here, and on here on this weight I put a little drop of oil there as well. Put a drop of oil here where this rotates, as well as on both sides here and there where this slides. I also put a tiny bit of grease on this guy here. This is where the presser foot slides back and forth. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't have any issues with that going forward. So just to show you, I move the presser foot, there's no squeaking or clanging or anything like that I was getting before I put a little bit of grease just on that one little point where this feeds in here. Okay. I also put a drop of oil here on the top of the presser foot bar, as well as 2 drops down here where the presser foot feeds into this main collar, because that was really dirty. So I let it soak a little bit and then I cleaned up around it to keep it nice and clean. I also put a drop of oil on this hinge here and also on that hinge there, and those move when we have our side-to-side motion. So I wanted to make sure, again, since that was giving us trouble, that it was nice and free. As we move through, again, everything is going nice and smoothly up and down. It's not a ton of oil shining everywhere, just enough. This bearing is working just fine, so I left it alone. You can see it sits there, and the 2 sides on either side move next to it. Here, I did move the motherboard out of the way to access this bearing, so that's sitting up there for now, but that will fit in here. I just had to move these wires and take out 2 screws that held that in place. So very easy. I'm not terribly stressed out about motherboards. I've worked with them in the past, so that was easy to take out. And there was just this little pin that held the housing tight up against this plate. So that was easy enough to shimmy out of the way. And then I had to unhook these two, but again, not terribly difficult to take out or put back in. And they are unique, so I won't put them in the wrong place. This is the bearing that's been giving us trouble. You can see the wear pattern on the side. I took the collar off. I have that over here, and collar looks fine. I'll be able to reuse it. There was a bunch of black gunk in there, so I cleaned that off. I also cleaned off a bunch of black gunk on either side where the lubricant has been coming out. So I think once I can get this loosened up or freed up, that we won't get the error codes we're getting in this machine anymore. I also put a tiny, tiny drop of oil here. This is the bobbin winder, and this plate here, there is a little bit of motion. So when I activate this, you can see how that holds that tight. So I put a little bit of oil behind there, just a tiny, tiny little bit to keep that from rubbing. And then I also wanted to make sure that I got a little bit of grease on this peg that sits against this wheel. It was already really greasy, so it's mostly just cleaning it up and then making sure that there was still a little bit of grease on there. The O-ring is perfectly supple. Everything looks fine there. The belt looks really good. Nothing wrong with the hand wheel. This board is nice and clean. I did blow it out. There was a bunch of black stuff from that bearing hidden down here under this case, so I cleaned that all out, and that's looking a lot better as well. I didn't do anything to the belts. They looked fine. I did check and make sure that they're nice and tight, and they are. And then on this one, there was a little bit of rubber on the edge here that I just cleaned up a little bit, but otherwise I left it alone. So that's everything I've done with this machine thus far. I think if I can get this bearing unseized, this will be a perfect little machine. It is just this bearing. All of the other bearings, this one down here works just fine. It's doing its job. There is what looks to be like a little bit of discoloration here, but it's not anywhere near as bad as this was. This was pitch black, just gross blackness everywhere. This one looks perfectly fine. I think if one is going to go next, it'll be this one, but I just left it alone for now. Stepper motor also looks nice, though that board doesn't look super clean. It is what it is. That's how it looks. Other than that, yeah, I feel really good about how this machine is going. Okay, I just wanted to demonstrate that I put the board back on and reconnected all of the cable clips and restrung all of the wires back into their proper casings. I've also reattached the front panel as it was and made sure that the housing is clipped in like it was. You can see that little metal bit right there. That when I took the board housing off, I made sure to reattach that clip before I put the screws back in. Everything else has been oiled and greased appropriately, and other than that seized bearing that is still free spinning in its housing, I think she is ready for a test sew and see if we cleared up the errors that we were getting before. All right, excellent. All put back together, and I'm going to turn the speed all the way up, put it on 1. This was producing stuttering. Reduce the speed. Reduce the speed. to zigzag. This is the default zigzag. Again, start slow. See that side-to-side needle movement. Increase the speed. The machine wouldn't do this at all. I did test sew, and it looks like the timing, something is a little bit off in that it is producing stitches that are much larger than normal, but it is doing all of the stitches. So I'm gonna see about checking the timing and everything else and make sure that looks good. But it's working better than it was, so we're in good shape. Okay, so I had to open the machine up again because the stepper motor wasn't engaged with this little white gear, and so it wouldn't allow the machine to reverse. So I'm hoping that setting that in again will make this work a little bit better. Okay, so now that I've re-engaged that motor, before I put everything back together, I'm just going to check. Okay, we have forward movement, let's hit reverse, we have backwards movement, so hopefully that fixes that.